Beautiful prayer. Thank you, Marilyn. And thank you for being here today. I am so honored to have the opportunity to share words with you, to speak about a concept of seva, of service is what seva means. And oftentimes this center refers to seva, and we started the idea of seva throughout our organization at large. So we're proud of that at our center. And yesterday was a true demonstration of that. There was great joy, great celebration, and hard work. A lot of sweaty people, and trying to put everything back into order, but doing it with an even temper and just a joy of sharing what was left over again out into the community, who will need the shoes for soles and who will need the clothing, and it just kept growing. So whatever we began here, we planted seeds that grow in the community. So quite a joy. And I think there was, Sarah was here, and she's back there, and she's got this amazing body. I saw this thing she was carrying before I saw her underneath it, and just the strength with which she carried that, and with such humor. And there was a picture that I reflected upon that is in a YouTube video from India, shows a man with just doing his little tricycle, but behind him is just tons of bottles and cans and things that he's carrying, and I thought, you just look just like that carrying. And then she emerged after she threw it into the truck, and I couldn't even lift the darn thing, trying to shift it over a little bit. So, but she was shining, everyone was shining with such joy. So I want to personally thank everybody that was here in any part of it during the whole week, because it was fun, and it was a true demonstration of seva, service from the heart without any expectation at all. Yet you can't help but reap the benefits of love, and so that's what I want to speak to, why it works. What is that love that it's pointing to? And the idea that the best way to lose yourself, the best way to ever lose yourself, is in service to others. There's a Swami that I want to quote, Swami Satchidananda. He says, to open your heart, to find within yourself and within your own life, just as it is, the extraordinary creative force that is the essence of all abundance and fulfillment, and to sustain your contact with that force. It is a force. It's a force of action and love and doing. In the end, the real test of your growth is not having attained different kinds of spiritual experiences. You see, it's not about doing all your spiritual practices and never showing up. Rather, it is your ability to serve life itself. So look deeply into yourself. And as I speak today, ask yourself the question, what have I done? And what can I do? What can I do? Well, how can I offer my heart with just the simple act of offering? And to start this idea, I wanted to share a story about the mouse in the house. There are many people in today's world that want nothing to do with helping other people. Their thought is, why should I go out of my way to help them with the problem that they are facing? It has nothing to do with me. Well, sometimes this decision can come back and affect them. So this story will illustrate this, why sometimes we should go out of our way to help others. So this is the mouse in the house, and there's no author known that is connected to this. But a mouse looked through the crack in the wall to see the farmer and his wife open a package. Oh, what food might this contain? The mouse wondered. He was devastated to discover it was a mousetrap. Retreating to the farmyard, the mouse proclaimed the warning, "There's a mousetrap in the house. There's a mousetrap in the house." The chicken clucked and scratched and raised her head and said, "Mr. Mouse, I can tell you this is a grave concern to you, but it is of no consequence to me. I cannot be bothered by it." The mouse turned to the pig and told him, "There's a mousetrap in the house, a mousetrap in the house." And the pig sympathized, but said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mouse, there's nothing I can do about that but pray. Be assured you're in my prayer. The mouse turned to the cow and said, there's a mousetrap in the house, a mousetrap in the house. And the cow said, wow, Mr. Mouse, bummer for you, I'm sorry for you, but it's no skin off my nose. So the mouse returned to the house, head down, dejected, to face the farmer's mousetrap alone. That very night, a sound was heard throughout the house, like the sound of a mousetrap catching its prey. The farmer's wife rushed to see what was caught. In the darkness, she did not see it was a venomous snake whose tail the trap had caught. The snake bit the farmer's wife. The farmer rushed her to the hospital, and she returned with a fever. Well, everyone knows that you treat a fever with fresh chicken soup. So the farmer took his hatchet to the farmyard for the soup's main ingredient. But his wife's sickness continued, so the friends and neighbors came to sit with her around the clock, so to feed them. I don't know why, it didn't seem this sad when I first read it. The farmer butchered the pig. The farmer's wife did not get well, and she ended up passing away. So many people came for her funeral, so the farmer had the cow slaughtered to provide enough meat for all of them. Well, the mouse looked upon it all from the crack in his wall with great sadness. So the next time you hear someone's facing a problem and you think it doesn't concern you, remember the mouse in the house. So, kind of depressing, but I didn't share that to bring you down, but to share with you the idea that we're all a part, we're all so interconnected. This interdependence is something that is so globally made aware to us now. And when we separate ourselves, when we allow ourselves to stand too strong in our opinions, in our ideas, our belief systems, and trying to be right all the time, when we stand too strong in those shoes, we don't allow ourselves just to see what is and to see where we can offer ourselves and to find our common ground of love itself. So there's many ways to be out there in the world and serve, and I've invited Sherry Miller to share a very unique way that she serves our world. So Sherry, will you please come forward and share your heart so they can awaken to what they can do too.
For 24 years, I've rescued German short-hair pointers. There are many of us here who I know that Marilyn rescues boxers, and they've all been really cool dogs. And about 3 years ago, I went to the German short-hair pointer website, and there was an emergency call. There was a 10-year-old blind, 94-pound German short-hair on death row in Sacramento. And they said, we really need help. We need help now. So I called and said, I don't know why I did this. I've got a screw loose, I know. Okay, I'll take this dog that I've never met before, never seen him, didn't know anything about him. And so they delivered him to my home, and I have Max now. And he was a champion gun dog, and then when he retired, he became an Alzheimer therapy dog. And then he went blind, totally blind. His parents died, and somehow he ended up on death row in Sacramento. So I took him, and I have to tell you, it was an adjustment, of course. You have to make sure that your house is picked up at all times. You can't leave the chairs out or the dishwasher open because he'll stumble over them. But through the years, the last couple of years that I've had him, I have to say that I have learned more about tolerance and patience and the return of love than I ever knew before. And a few days ago, I passed a car, and it had paw prints all over the back window. And there was a sticker that said, "Who rescued who?" And I think that's all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. So we have these sweet stories that warm our hearts, and we're thinking, sometimes, you're already doing great service in the world, and you're so used to doing it that you forget that it's just a part of you. It's part of the action inside of you that is called forward, that action that calls us out into the world. And the idea of pure action is expressed by the words of Mother Teresa. And she shares this idea. If I can find it, I've got too many notes here. She calls it compassion and action. And she says, to me, God and action are one and the same. Compassion itself, think about this, is the joy of sharing. It's doing small things, just a small thing, for the love of another, just a smile even, or carrying a bucket of water, or showing a simple act of kindness. These are the small things that make up compassion. It means trying to share and understand the suffering of other people. And I think it's very good when people suffer, for to me, that's really the kiss of Jesus, and a sign also that this person has come so close to Jesus and shares his passion. It's only pride and selfishness and coldness that keep us from having compassion. When we ultimately go home to God, we are going to be judged, this is her philosophy, on what we were to each other, what we did for each other, and especially how much love we put into that. It's not how much we give, but how much love we put into the doing. That's compassion in action. How much love you put into the doing. So this idea that service is an opportunity, and this is the idea why we're sharing it this month. This whole month has been devoted to the idea of service to the world. It's part of one of our social actions that our organization really wants each one of us to step into in our own way and to share the philosophy of this greater good always unfolding. And so we have an opportunity to allow it to be free of any complication of a self-interest or advancement of your own being in any way. You don't want to have a pat on the back and have people go, wow, they do so much. That might happen, but that's not why you do it. There's no self-interest that's motivating you to stay involved. And there's all these chemicals in our body that from the scientific approach to this, Dean Ornish is a very well-known cardiologist, and he speaks to the healing of the heart is through service to others and through this idea of deep compassion. And it releases the chemicals in our body that causes everything just to calm down and to allow the juices of love to fill our very being. There is the idea of this love that will sustain you when you step into true service. And it's so large and huge to fill the very being of your body, to feel the chambers of your heart with this love. Just as the sky is held without any effort, the sky is just always there. This love is something that we're speaking to that fills you so much that you can't help but reach out and act. This love comes from the deepest part of your soul, and it comes from a place that has no judgment. And I watch, there's a man that walks up and down Hartnell, and he's very thin, and it's haunting to me because I'm always going the other direction, or I catch sight of him a little bit too late. But he's walking in these hot days with bare feet, and he's not wearing his shirt. And of course, then I start to diagnose him, being a nurse, and then I think, all of a sudden, I've categorized him. So quickly it happens. And then I have a little bit of fear. Well, what happens if I do stop? And then I thought to myself, I should just look in this bin and find several pairs of shoes and just always have them ready to offer to him. I need to do something instead of keep passing him by and not speaking to what I see. Now, I'm projecting that he's suffering, but mostly I'm watching those feet on this black asphalt on these hot days. And I'm thinking, nobody should walk without shoes on this hot pavement. So I'm watching myself not act, and I'm watching my ideas construct around why I'm not acting and giving myself excuses. And I think that's not love. That's not love reaching out. That's me being held back by a little bit of fear because I don't know who he is. And so I don't want to do that anymore. But I might. You know, we come across these ways of halting ourselves from true service, from true being in the world, until there's a huge tragedy. Until there's that. 9/11 was a great example of that. When 9/11 happened, everybody came forward. Just, how can I serve? How can I help? How can I hold this? Without any hesitation about their own life being in danger. And so that's that big love. That's the big love that is larger than any fear. And so we have these chemicals inside of us that become charged, and they are that which cause the action of love to be demonstrated. When those are present, your ego doesn't have time to interfere with that activity. And so you get to explore pure action on your part. You're aware of it and you feel it. You feel it just the way Sherry said, you know, who's rescued who? She feels something larger now than just answering a call to a dog that was on death row. You start to understand something about pure action and also about the source of that. This is where we go deep into this teaching. God is love. God is the only source. And so when we allow ourselves to dwell there, to operate from there, from that depth of our being, from that aspect of our soul, we meet the other soul. And it is serving at that level we understand what true love is about. We begin to understand what it really means to love one another unconditionally. I was listening to a tape series from David White, and he shares about his friend's wife who had gone off to a retreat, and they were sharing how it went for her. And the man said, oh, she came back totally in love with humanity, and only thing is she can't stand people. And I thought, you know, that does get in our way, doesn't it? When we can't stand the people sometimes. But we're asked to drop that too. To drop that too and begin to understand that we here, this opportunity of our life on earth is to find that depth, that realm of absolute love, and to live from it. To be free from all the tensions and pressures that keep us outside of that. To dive into the sorrow and the suffering. Sometimes it's so hard to even imagine that that level of sorrow is even existing in our world. But we have a global vision in our organization to act and to move and to apply the principles of our teaching into community, to no longer just sit back. Praying is one thing, but then we act and move our feet. Ernest Holmes says there is a new light coming into awareness. And this light is just that light of love, and there is this thin veil between the spirit and the matter. It's so thin. We're so able to reach through that. We can move away that fog of delusion and separation. We can move past our judgments and our preconceived opinions. We can do that. I know that as a people here. It's what we teach all the time, to soul search deep into our own self. It's why we have the classes. It's why we ask you to journal and do spiritual practice. Look deeply into the heart of your own being. He adds this: we should not only pray, but we should act, each contributing the best he has to the common purpose, each willing to make any sacrifice necessary. Not a sacrifice that is reluctantly made, but one who offers all that he has for two great purposes. And one might be a selfish one, because we do desire self-preservation, but in a greater sense, there cannot be that individual preservation without the preservation of all. And that's Ernest Holmes' heart shared with you. So my invitation in both talks today, I want you to find out for your own self, what is my purpose? What have I done? Keep returning to that question And what can I yet do? Every soul longs to be engaged in pure action, the action of service. This is what Mother Teresa was pointing to. It's how Spirit, it's how God, it's how love is revealed to us. It is how we are used as an instrument of peace. Service becomes the foundation of our human race. There's a YouTube video of a Narayana Krishna who found that he had a true gift of cooking. But he realized as he would cook and feed his people and he would receive great funds from feeding, he looked out into his neighborhood and he saw so much suffering. He saw the hungry. He saw the people that were taking camp, living in just tunnels and hungry and shivering. And he thought, what do I need all of this money for and all this food? So he chose right then in 2002, and he's gotten a lot of recognition for this and a lot of support from his own family. He stopped his business and he started to cook for all these people. And he would hand carry the food, and he would actually lift the food because they were too weak to feed. And we hear Mother Teresa has done this for a long time, but we must recognize this gentleman is known as the Mother Teresa of Pakistan. There's so many people that are understanding what it means to really touch and reach into the suffering. So he goes out and he feeds his community, the homeless, the destitute, the elders. And he does it with such passion. And then he moved on to deciding that they deserved the dignity of touch in such a way that he cuts their hair and he allows them to be bathed and to feel refreshed and to feel the respect. And many Brahmins in that culture aren't to touch the untouchable, so to speak, but he's done with that. And he moves past that and he reaches with his heart and he serves the many. And it's a wonderful, wonderful little clip to watch, the joy that he receives. Now, right behind love, right joined with love, that pure quality is joy. This is a God quality that we all yearn for. This joy is ever present. It is what love resides upon. Not a joy that makes you giggle, it could, but a joy that causes you to reach out from yourself and just feel that natural inner joy smile. Because you know that everyone longs for a hand to hold, a hope. Everyone longs for food to feed their belly. This love and the affection that we can give to one another is the mental nutrition that we have to offer. So you start giving the joy. You start watching that be part of your practice, that inner joy, the clarity and focus to know your destination, to know that, and allow yourself to go out and feed the world in that way, in whatever way. It might not be a human being. It might just be the Mother Earth. It might just be the animals in the world. But interdependence, that's what we reach into, and we recognize that love is the way. And so I invite you all this week to live in that sacred way. Remember when you have been helped? Do you remember the hand that reached out to you in the moment of your deepest suffering? And just you were listened to and you were held and you were healed? Those are the moments that sparks those chemicals in your body that wakes you up to love itself. So compassion is this quality that I speak to right now, to allow your heart to transform. It will transform any resentment that you might hold into forgiveness. It will transform friendliness. It will from hatred into friendliness, anger into loving kindness. This warm sensitivity is an offering for you to open to your world. We sometimes are so burdened and oppressed by our own prejudices, our resistances, and our hostilities. They were there sometimes, birthed inside of us to protect us, and sometimes we operate from them. Ours is to see what they are and to open the door of the heart and to move through and to be willing. There's a friend I work with named Bonnie, and you might have seen her in the newspaper, her and her husband. They grow butterflies. Did you see that article? And she's so dear. When she first told me last year that she was raising these caterpillars, and they're all over her house, oh, I kept thinking, what about their droppings? What do they look like in case you're sitting down eating something? Can you recognize their droppings? I get all weird, like right away, you see, I start to make a big deal about it. But she has taken all of these little creatures, and they just live off of plants, they're in cages, and then she takes them out, and they just set them free into their land, into our land, because the monarch butterfly is in danger. And so this was their way to give back to the world. And they dedicate their life to it. They dedicate their funds to it. And she was sharing with me also, we were talking about, she passed somebody on her way. We were complaining about joints hurting or whatever, and then she saw somebody that was destitute on the road, and they were trying to get back from San Francisco. They had a doctor's appointment there, and their car broke down in Redding. And they got bad news in San Francisco, and then their car broke down, and they were saying they've never had to ask for anything. They've never had to beg, and they were just needing a little bit of money to get home, to get back home, because they spent all their money that they had on car repair. And Bonnie said she gave $5, and then she went and she was buying some things, and she goes, well, how stingy is that? So she went back and asked them where they were sleeping and what food did they need, and she expanded on it. She's got this heart of service, this heart that is willing to not walk away, but to turn back and to offer, what else can I do? How else can I help you? How can I not judge what you're going to do with what I offer? So these seeds of love and compassion start with the self. They start with our own self. Sometimes that's the best person to serve first, is you. Is to turn that compassion to your own self, to forgive your own self for the moments that you were less than. There is the great commandment of love. The great commandment of love goes through all faith paths. And this is the one found in Matthew 22. And it says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is in the Bible. Listen to that again. Love the Lord your God. How are you going to name that? It's yours to name. Spirit, mystery, the great one, love itself, God, your Lord. Love that with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. And then the second, that's the greatest commandment. Love God, you put God first. And the second is love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus spoke these words to all, that this is the law that all the prophets hang on. These are the two greatest commandments. And along with the golden rule, it is weaved into every faith path. And I think when we do unto others as we would like it to be done unto us, that golden rule, and then when we have the courage to act upon that and to drop our preconceived ideas and just love and just serve, we find our way. This is the concept of God, and we realize, as Ernest Holmes says, that God and man are one, not two. And we shall love. We shall love man as the expression of God, and God as the life principle of all. So what will you do? What will you do? Watch it in the small ways this week. Watch it as just a simple act of picking up a litter along your pathway, offering a bowl of water out on your yard for any stray animal, just anything at all. And there's this Confucian's wisdom that I share with you, what the Master said, when walking in a group of three, they are my teachers, they are always present. I draw out what is good in them so as to emulate it myself, and what is not good in them so as to alter it in myself. So we look out into the world and we see those things that cause us to pull back or pull away, but then no, we lean into it and we ask our Lord, our God, that deep soul of ourself, what must I do? What must I do inside myself to allow this pure love to flow? So allow your week to be touched with courage, great courage. This takes great courage. Let yourself relax your whole body and allow yourself to be anointed with this touch of love in service to humanity. Get touched by conditions themselves. Don't turn away. Don't turn away anymore. The world is calling for us to light up the light, to penetrate the fog of our delusions and our separations, and simply to just love. So, one more prayer to you. One more prayer to you as I close my time with you right now. My heart is so longing for all of us to walk this path, to truly recognize the opportunities before us. And it comes truly from the prayer of St. Francis. So close your eyes and open your heart and hear these words again in a new way. Lord, Lord, my God, make me an instrument of your peace. O Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me now choose love. Where there has been injury, let me pardon. Let me know the heart of true forgiveness. Where there has been doubt in me, in my world, let me know faith. Where there is despair, let me see hope. Let me know good is unfolding. Where there is darkness, where my heart closes down, oh Lord, may there be the light that knows the greater truth. And most of all, oh great Master, when there is sadness, let my heart weep until the joy is revealed. O great Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to be the one that reaches and does the consoling, to be understood. Let me first understand. To be loved, yes, but more so to love. For it is in the giving that we receive. It is in the pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in the dying that we are born to eternal life. Join with me. We're right there. We're right there at the cusp of love itself. And as we soften and we allow the chemistry of our own body to just open, to breathe, those 3 sacred breaths, deeper and deeper, we reach beyond the imprints of our conditioning to the very soul of what is. And we look out now into our world from this place as we companion with God, our Lord, within. And we see the soul, the Lord, within humanity, within every animal, within every being, with every plant, in all the waters, and in our heavens, in our air. We see it all from a greater understanding. And so I recognize that we are open, fully open, filled with this love that is called into action now. An action that no one else will ever know. But we walk in faith, we walk in light, we walk in truth. And we plant these seeds of greater good, unfolding now into all our ways of being with one another. We love one another as we would ourselves, our family. This is the call of humanity. And I release these words in such gratitude that there are ears to hear, and hearts to hold, and hands and feet that are so willing to take action now. I release these words, knowing that goodwill comes to all. Thank you, God, for this moment of sharing and inspiration and truth. I release my word, knowing that it is already so, because I speak with love to love, and so it is. Thank you for listening. Thank you.